Well, hey, folks, welcome to the pre show for the Intrepid radio program. I am still up at my friend and client, Andy Dabb's house up in the North Woods, and I do not have all my recording or studio equipment with me. So you got to put up with the mic being just a little tinny tonight, as you have all week, because I'm using just my internal microphone on the computer. As opposed to my actual microphone. So there you go. I hope you don't get issues with the program either. We got all kinds of storms going through. My daughter Rowan just called me. She's crying because the sirens go off for the storms. And so I told her, don't worry too much. I said, Mom knows what to do, and it'll be okay. So, let me start my recording stuff. I've got us on the, just got to make sure we're getting the signal going out. Yes, we do. And so we're all set to roll. Mics are hot. All we have to do is wait for the right time, which is about 2.5 minutes from now. We'll go live. And so I see a lot of people gathered in the pre-show already. Welcome. Good to see you. I see Grumpy Stack and Leslie Holker. Welcome. And Barbie D and Matt Finn, Master and Commander Finn. And there's Field Guy from Nolans. And you made it through another day without stabbing someone. That's good to hear, brother. I'm glad you did. And let's see, who else is in here? Matthew Sainsbury is here from Barbados. Let's see. Hey, I'm here, Scotty Roberts. And where else do we have anybody in here? Anyway, welcome to Roger Rabbit. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. Glad you're all stacking up. And so the show doesn't go live for about another minute and a half, a minute and 15 seconds, something like that. And so we're about ready. Go get your autograph book if you haven't already, says Leslie Holker. And there is the, oops, it all scrolled away as I clicked on it. There's the link, theswordandtheclay.com. Come on over and get them. And those of you who have ordered the book, we've already got the first shipment in. And we'll be shipping out as soon as I get back home. So, which will be tomorrow afternoon. So probably Friday I'll be shipping books. And so there you are. Everybody be prepared because we're getting ready to go live on the program. And as you know the drill. I'm going to go dark for a few seconds and then the show intro will begin at 25 seconds past. It's now 8 seconds past. So here we go. I'm going to remove myself and I'll be back in just a less.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Scotty Roberts, your host here on the Intrepid radio program. And go over to Odyssey Radio, that's ODYSY radio.com to hear this show from the radio station live in its audio format. You can also go there tomorrow morning and throughout the day and hear rebroadcasts of tonight's show. And also you can see this show in its video format. It's simulcast over at facebook.com/Odyssey Radio and over on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And while you're there, join the family of Intrepids that are over there already chatting up a storm. And you can click the like button, the thumbs up, that always helps our cause on YouTube. And you can subscribe to the channel. And at the same time, you can go down under the screen, click on the button that says join. And you could actually join this channel. So you can go over and see what benefits are listed there and join the channel if you so would like to. And with that, I want to welcome you all. I see everybody gathering over in the chat room. And welcome to everyone over there. We already said good evening to most of you. I see Carly Sagan has come in since then, and probably a couple of other people as well. Barbie D, Matthew Sainsbury, let's see, Leslie Holker, and Matt Finn, Master Finn, my master and commander in the chat room, and field guys over there, and the list goes on and on and on. If I missed you, it's not because I omitted you. It's just that I don't take lots and lots of time on the live show to welcome everybody. Now, if you're listening to this show right now and you say, that sounds a little wonky, well, I am not in my home studio. I am broadcasting remotely right now, several hours away from my home studio, and I do not have all of my studio equipment or microphones with me, so I'm broadcasting via the built-in microphone in the computer. So if we sound funny or a little different, that's why. And there's the resonance, the tone, the bass and timbre is very different on the computer microphone. And so there it is. Welcome. Wonky is a word, field guy. I love the word wonky. Hey, Lalanya. Good to see you over in the chat room as well. She just came in. Grumpy Stack. Good to see you. Grumpalicious. Oh, Grumpaloose. Grumpaloose, it says. So there you go. All right. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about all of us, about this beautiful thing called imperfection. And have you ever wondered about the things that happen in your life that leave you thinking, I'm not a very perfect person, or life isn't flowing the way I want it to? You know what's been happening to me? I've been working on this book for Andy this week. And as I'm working on this book, I'm putting in a lot of philosophical stuff. And isn't that a great way to put that? Philosophical stuff. And some of the topics I'm hitting on, we were talking about, he deals with and has dealt with his whole life with anxiety issues. He's writing kind of his life story, and I'm taking that and refining that and adding a lot of detail to it. Andy is, no offense to Andy, Andy's not a book writer. He hasn't done a lot of that. So he's just writing down his experiences like you might write a term paper for school, and he's passing them on to me. And we're trying to beautify it and bookify it, so to speak. And there's a lot of deep issues in there that people deal with. And dealing with human imperfections was something that really came up as I was researching a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in his book. And we did a couple of little readings from that book to give you a a clue of how that book was going and how it was flowing, I think that there is a lot of meat to this book. It's not just a book about some guy who's made it rich and rags to riches and he's giving you his business secrets. It's not that kind of book. It's not a book that has some kind of false front on it as he's trying to sell you something. It's nothing like that. Andy is genuinely a person that feels a need to care for other people. And what he is hoping is that this book will have some resonance and ring through to some people, and that there's a message in some of the things that he's experienced that will be good for you, that will be good for other people, that will be something that people are going to read and be able to enjoy and relate to. And so as I'm writing this, I'm going through and finding topics. There are topics that'll come to my mind. And one of them was today, and I don't know exactly what spurred this on and what I was writing today, but how being human or being perfectly human means accepting human imperfections. Andy admits, and it might have been in a section I was writing where he said, I'm not a perfect person. And I don't ever want to color myself as a perfect person. I want you to see my imperfections. And that's something I told Andy when we started this book. I said, don't hide your imperfections. Show the warts and the scars and the mishaps and the ups and the downs. And that's what he's done. He's given me a lot of information about his past life. And we're going through that. But the thing that's really hard for most people and really amazing at the same time is this whole idea of giving up on being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself. I think that's what I saw in Andy's story, and that's why I prompted this, is he's saying, I haven't reached perfection, and I was sure really imperfect in my earlier days, but this is the progress I'm making. These are the things I'm doing. And so being perfect, it's this beginning this work of becoming yourself. You have to give up on feeling like you need to be perfect. How many of you out there listening to my voice now, or here in the chat room on the YouTube channel, have ever dealt with, I'm not doing it right. I'm not getting there. I'm not the perfect person I need to be. Or we get very disappointed with ourselves because sometimes we just don't make it to where we think we need to be. We have a picture of ourselves, expectations of ourselves that are really tough to meet sometimes. Melania says, I work on numbers. Those have to be perfect as well. But beyond that, I'm all over the place, she says, over in the chat room. So it's okay to make mistakes, not in crunching numbers, but it's okay to make mistakes as a human, to stop striving for perfection. Now, I struggle a little bit with this topic in wondering if that some of the things you read are just people blowing sunshine up your ass to try to get you to, oh, you're fat and overweight. Well, you know what? Fat and overweight is beautiful. Now, I'm just using that as an example. I'm pulling that out. And I'm using gross derogatory terms to make the point. There are things about us that we don't like and things that we need to hone and perfect. And we shouldn't just give in and cave to not being perfect. We also shouldn't give in and cave to the person who says, you're okay just like you are. Because sometimes that isn't true either. Sometimes if we're fat and overweight, again, using a gross derogatory, we may need to work on losing weight, or we could make our body sick. We could die early. We could contract diseases, diabetes primary among them. And so There are things sometimes that you look at and you go, yeah, I do need perfecting. But the overall thrust of this is stop striving for perfection. There is a beauty in being imperfect. Now, I know that that's easier said than done. Most things that are worthwhile are much easier said than done. I know this. But we as human beings have this strange relationship with the need to try to be perfect. Now, in society, children are told it's okay to make mistakes, but not adults. As soon as we join the real world, mistakes stop being okay. Like Lelania said, she's a number cruncher, an accountant of some kind. It's not okay to make mistakes when you're doing that particular work. So this is applying to different areas. Now, new literature suggests that mistakes are okay, even for adults. In fact, they can help facilitate our growth, and it might just well be the foundation of psychological health. Now, in a landmark publication, Alina Tugend furthers the theory and the research about human error. Released just last month, Tugend's book, Better by Mistake, The Unexpected Benefits of Being Wrong, suggests that embracing screw-ups can not only make us happier, but healthier and smarter. Embracing our mess-ups, embracing our faults, embracing. Leslie, I am tired. Leslie said in the chat room, I look tired tonight. I am a little bit. My voice is even tired tonight. I don't know why. I'm not stressed up here at all. I'm just writing away. So, Tugend heralds the good news that human beings, no matter the degree of frequency of mistakes that they've made, are not themselves mistakes. Now, that might not be a newsflash. We may already know that. We may say, I make mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. I know that. Even if you were conceived as a mistake. We sometimes tease our kids with that and go, we didn't want to have any kids and you were an accident. Or we tell them, you were just dropped at our doorstep. So I don't know what special place you think you have here. And of course, it's all in the tone of joking around with them, and they know it. We would never say anything like that to them if they thought we were being serious for even an instant. But with this understanding, Tugend takes her readers into deep waters that look at the medical advances that have resulted from mistakes. The fear that American society is attached to mess-ups and all the encompassing shame that results from falling from the throne of perfection. Here, now I'm going to try something. I've got my daughter, Rowan, is calling in. Now, I apologize to the radio listeners. You're not going to be able to hear this. I am going to my headset, though, so maybe you'll be able to hear it unless we get too much feedback, and I'll have to shut it down. So I told Rowan she could call me at any time because they're in the storm warning area. So I'm going to add her to the stream. Just like that. Hey, Ro.
You guys all missed
How you doing?
We've been talking about
How's it going?
Good.
How's the storm?
Okay, what did they say?
I'm just kind of watching this to
Go
see.
quickly.
I don't think we have anything bad.
They're talking specifically about Somerset. So
Pacifically?
stop.
Pacifically.
All right. Nothing new happening
We
though?
were talking about Somerset. Now they're talking
Kind of.
about Goodhue.
Okay.
Mom's camera fell in the water.
Oh, that figures. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. You can call me anytime. You can call even during the show like this. If you feel that there's an emergency or you get really scared, Mom's there. She knows what to do. So I'm going to let you go, baby, okay? I love you. Everything's going to be just fine.
Okay.
Don't worry. All right?
Love you too.
All right. See you in a bit. All right, guys. My apologies to the radio audience, but I'm sorry, but I make no apologies. That was my old line. Sorry that we cut in with that. That was a private message from my daughter, but I told her they're in the middle of tornado warnings back home. And so I said, if you get afraid of anything, you give me a call. So Uncle Dave said hello if you're still watching back home, guys. So Uncle Dave's in the chat room. All right, so let's try to get back into this. And you know, I always try to make time for my kids. There was a story that really impressed me about John F. Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy, when he was in office, he'd be having meetings in the Oval Office. And his son, little John, who was 2 to 3 years old, would run into the Oval Office and he'd be playing under the desk and so on. And some of these very serious-minded men in suits, they're told the president, do you think it's really appropriate for your child to be in here playing while we're having meetings on whatever, the economy, the military, the whatever. And JFK said, you know what? My son is always allowed in here. He said there is never a time when he is not allowed here. Ryan Gale just said President Lincoln was just like that too. So when we have stuff going on at home, if there's any crises that are happening and I'm not there to do anything about it, I don't think there's a crisis there now, but Rowan's kind of afraid. She's always been afraid of thunderstorms and tornadoes, and well, everybody should be. But when those sirens go off, she kind of loses it. And so I told her she can call me if she gets afraid, even though mom's there. So that's what she just did. That's what you got to kind of hear. And sorry to the radio audience over on the radio station. You probably didn't hear much there except my side. So there it is. We did it. We're moving on from it. That's my show. So we were talking about all these mess ups, these imperfections, these things that we get worried about, and with the understanding that the good news that human beings, no matter the degree or the frequency of mistakes they've made, are not themselves mistakes. Tunjan, in her book, she took the reader into these areas of looking at the medical advances that have resulted from mistakes, the fear that American society is attached to mess ups, and all the encompassing shame that results from falling from the throne of perfection. Look at our country right now. Look at all the stuff that is so utterly messed up. But you know what's going to happen? I don't think we're going to disintegrate into nothingness. I think this is all going to backlash, and we're going to realize out of these imperfections that are happening right now is the process of getting better and better and better. Now, in her book, Tugend has encouraged to divorce yourself from thought patterns that link mistakes with character flaws, or intimidation, or dishonor, or failure. Punitive measures or other biased maladaptive beliefs about one's intrinsic nature, goodness, and value. And so in the place of the maladaptive belief about yourself and those systems that are in place, she contends that mistakes should be seen as opportunities for growth. Now, we all know that too. We've all heard these things for years. Growth, discovery, understanding, and powerful tools for learning. And when the shame and the embarrassment and the fear detach from mistakes, the experiences connected with them are going to become livable, growth facilitating, psychologically beneficial for us. I look at stuff with my own son, Sam, the things that he went through, the nasty shit he went through because of sometimes his own actions. You know what those serve to do? Teach him life lessons. And I didn't abandon him to those lessons, but he looks back on that and said, here's the things I've learned from this. And he's becoming very well-rounded. And Tugend's work adds to the body of work that's produced by humanistic psychologists that attribute the same inherently good attributes to humanity. It's a tradition that holds that people all have intrinsic value, intentionality, the capacity to make meaning, and self-determining and self-actualizing tendencies, regardless of whatever the diagnosis might be, or the intellect, or other man-made constructs. So capturing the essence of humanity and mistakes, humanistic psychology founder Abraham Maslow once said, "I have learned the novice can often see things that the expert overlooks. All that is necessary is not to be afraid of making mistakes or of appearing naive." So hopefully that kind of wisdom is going to eventually erase the taboo of making mistakes. The fear gets washed away. And you know what really governs us when we make those mistakes is the fact that we become afraid of what people are going to think, what they will think of us, how they will see us, how they will view us. And so there's this beautiful imperfection of being human, which is really the topic for tonight. Being human, believe it or not, it's not something we have any control over. Maybe you can attribute it to, well, in my former life in eternity, I decided I was going to come back as a human being instead of a gnat. I don't know. We're not talking about that stuff. We're talking about being human. Being born, being human, living your life is usually not something that you have any choice over. And so, and it's complicated. Even if we came with a set of instructions, seriously, who's going to read them? Not many people. But this is a good thing. The only way to do human, so to speak, is in our very own way. It's the imperfect things we do. And we all do imperfect things. We don't want to lose them. It's an essential part of being human, as much as they might roll us from time to time, our imperfections. They're the vulnerabilities that exist at our edges, all the things around us, the edge, the periphery of who we are. Right, Joe Morrow, the Bible is a set of instructions. How many people ignore it? Or how many people don't see that as the source of faith? They're of a different faith. Millions of people in the world. So trying to convince them that one particular book is the instruction book is kind of hard, unless they choose to believe that by faith. So, yeah, there's instructions. We get instructions. There's a lot of other instructions other than biblical text or biblical writ to tell us how to live our lives right in an imperfect way. And of course, the Bible itself even tells us we are imperfect creatures. And the only thing that makes us perfect is the sacrifice of the Son of God, the atonement for sin, and so on. So it deals with the imperfections of inhumanity. And you're right, most people don't. So these are the vulnerabilities that exist at our edges, with a realness and a rawness that can feel really overwhelming at times. And it's easy to feel as though we're the only ones who wade in the messiness of all our imperfections. But you know what? Cheer up, you're not the only one. You're not the one alone there. We all do. We never are perfect. Now, we might do things at different intensities and with different impacts and levels of awareness, but we all do those things. It's the beautifully imperfect art of being perfectly human. Now, here are 10 of the plenty of things that we end up doing. Listen to these. Number 1, we're all scared of something. What scares you? I get afraid of losing face nowadays. When I was a kid, I was scared of the dark. Now I get afraid of other things, other more adult things. Losing face, losing reputation, going bankrupt, failing my wife, failing my family and my kids. Those are the things that scare me. You can have spiders, snakes, people who act like snakes, bad dreams, no dreams, and the big one, loss. Loss of love, loss of the people that we love. Almost all of us here have experienced that. Loss of hope, loss of health, loss of life. I know when I have close friends that have, internet friends, close friends on the internet, there you go, who have gone through a death or something, and everybody's giving them sympathy on their post. And I say, look, I just want to remind you that Paul in the New Testament said, we sorrow not as those who have no hope. When we lose hope, what do we lose? We got nothing left. So loss of health, loss of life. The closer we get to the fear of all that, the braver we can get. The only way not to be scared of anything is to shrink away from the challenge or the risk or anything else that has courage as an essential. I love the old Captain Kirk speech from the original Star Trek series, where they're all debating on whether to do a certain thing and presenting in the conference room their different points of view. And Kirk says, risk is our business. That's why we're here. It's a very motivational speech. Gives me chills just thinking about it. So we have to, if we shrink away from the challenge or the risk or anything else that has courage as an essential ingredient, that's where we experience the most fear. There's going to be times to retreat from fear to somewhere tender and bundled. And there's going to be times that the only way through will be the fiercely attacking the middle. Going, damn the cannonballs and full speed ahead. Draw your swords and charge. Right down the middle of the line. So at some point, most likely many points, we're all faced with that decision. How are we going to deal with our fear? It's an imperfection. Second one, we all feel insecure sometimes. Our insecurities are as much a part of our humanness as breathing, as owning a kidney. Our insecurities are part of our makeup, our physiological makeup, our psychological makeup. Sometimes our insecurities will take our voice, our power, and our balance, but they don't have to. Insecurities, maybe another good way to put it is anxieties. I've been dealing a lot with anxiety this week in writing this book, the topic of anxiety. So the more we can own them and acknowledge them, the more we can soothe them back to being small enough to deal with. The experience of insecurity is what fuels our empathy. The experience of insecurity is the stuff it's the fossil fuel of our empathy, of our compassion, of our realness. We get it when we see it in others because that vulnerability happens to us too. But our insecurities also have a dark side that can also make us arrogant, brash, toxic. And the difference lies in our awareness and how open we are to their existence. So think of it like being in a dark room full of stuff. You're going to bump into things. You're going to bruise and buckle, and eventually you might stop feeling anything at all. And when you turn on the light, none of the stuff disappears. The insecurities are still there, but now you can navigate around them without tripping. I've used that illustration in tarot, reading tarot cards, when you get the moon card, which frankly I don't draw very often for people. But the moon card says you're going into a time of darkness where you're going to feel like you're shambling around in the dark, not able to find your way. And I've used that illustration. It's like having moved into a brand new house and all your boxes and furniture, nothing's organized yet. They're all sitting around the house. You go to bed at night, and then you get up in the middle of the night to go get a drink of water, and you walk through the house. You're in unfamiliar terrain. You're in the dark. You're tripping and banging into things. All you got to do is reach over, click, turn on the light. And all the same things that you were banging into are still there. You just now know where they are. Leslie, it has been a long time since I've done tarot readings. There's a reason for that too. When I first started doing tarot readings, it was to let people know, hey, I do this in part for a living. And I could do 15 tarot readings on a Sunday and say, now come on over to my website and get a reading. And nobody wanted to get a reading and pay for one, but everybody wanted the free one on Sunday. It'd start stacking up. Now, call that shallow if you want from me. There was a point where I said, I feel a little used on this, even though I offered it. So I'm going to stop for a while. And if that sounds dumb or stupid, there it is. That's the reason. Maybe that's an imperfection of mine. Is that if you're not careful, you can constantly be throwing what you have to people. And I suppose there's that fine line of saying for nothing in return. Sometimes you say, I do this to help my family. And so come on over and get a reading, but nobody wants to buy one, but everyone will take the free one. And so if that sounds really, I don't know, asshole-ish, pardon me for saying it all. But that's kind of the reason I backed off of doing them just a little bit. And sometimes it was very draining, the other side of that coin. So self-gratification to prove a point, says Joe Morrow. Maybe. But yeah, Leslie, that's part of it. It's like saying I draw pictures for a living, and now for the next people who line up, I'll give you 10 free drawings. And but then I got to create the drawings, and say now this free drawing is so other people will come and see the work and say, hey, you do a pretty good job. I think I'll have you do my next drawing. And but then that never happens. So it becomes a thing. You get it. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. I do free horoscopes. In the end, no one gets out alive, says Iowa X over in the chat room. There it is. So anyway, that's a talk for another time. Maybe in the captain's cabin tonight, we can bring that up if anybody wants to take me to task on that. That's just my thinking. It's not meant to be mean or insensitive or non-giving. It's just that my wife would look at me and say, you're doing more stuff for free? You do too much stuff for free, she says, for friends. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Let me move on from that. The third thing on this, on this whole idea of the beauty of imperfection, this is a big one that I know we've all experienced. We will all feel the pain of a broken heart. Now, by the way, just to refamiliarize you with what the list we're going through here, these are the vulnerabilities, the beautiful imperfection of being human. And the third one is we'll all feel the pain of a broken heart. What a cruel thing it is that the very thing that catapults us into dizzying, glorious heights can turn on us so quickly and have us feeling as though we've been dropped into a vat of toxic junkyard waste. Humans love. We love love, but it doesn't always love us back the way we want it to. There are so many ways to achieve a broken heart. And we're going to experience at least one of them in our lifetimes, if you haven't already, if not more. The person we love who doesn't love us back. The deep but forbidden love that has no right being fulfilled. The love that has run its course, run out of steam. A broken heart is devastating. It does something to all of us that makes simple everyday life things feel too hard for a while. Unable to function right. I was there once. Before I met Rainey, I was there. A broken heart. Went on for 6 months before she and I started seeing each other. And even that, I kept her at arm's length. You know why? I didn't want to feel that pain again. I was willing to do the things, hi Watson. I was willing to do the things that were parts of relationships, to have fun, to hang out, sex, whatever it might be, go out to eat. But I did not want to give my heart to anybody again because I didn't want to go through that again. And it took Rainey 6 painstaking months of sticking it out with me when she could have walked away before I came out of that, got shaken out of that. So, as in splitting an atom with a chainsaw too hard? That's too hard. That stuff is too hard. A broken heart isn't the exclusive territory of the one who is left, by the way. Sometimes love just isn't enough, and for other reasons, relationships end. Whatever the reason, whatever the role, it hurts. It's deep. It's lonely. And it's one of the worst parts of being human. Remember what the Tin Man said in The Wizard of Oz. He's given a heart by the wizard. And then when Dorothy is leaving on the hot air balloon, what does he say? He says, now I know I have a heart because it's breaking. We all have those, and that's a silly scene when you think about it, but it's a very heartfelt scene. Kitty, what are you doing over there? Cat's scratching up the furniture. That's why I don't like cats with claws. So, number 4, we've experienced a loss that has changed our normal. Loss changes people. Many of us here have experienced loss. And I know Leslie, for one, has experienced loss. I know Matthew Sainsbury has experienced loss. And I know a lot of us in here have. Joe Morrow says, owner of a broken heart. So loss changes people. And I'm talking about big loss here. It's irreplaceable, soul-clenching, heart-breaking loss. Whether it's a person, a love, a career, or something else entirely, the gap between the old normal and the new normal is excruciating. Loss might deliver itself under the guise of making us stronger. And though it might, there's a lot of pain that's not worth anything that comes from it. We might learn the strength of the human spirit. We might grow. Imagine if I remember, now this is nothing like real loss, but remember back a few years ago when I was out in Wyoming and Utah for several months working with a roofing company. Same pattern with the people and so on as I was in Louisiana. And I had a dream one night. I had fallen asleep early watching TV. It's only about 9:30 at night. And I had a dream that Rainey and my kids were all killed in a car accident. Why the hell would I dream about that? It was probably an anxiety dream, the separation anxiety dream. And I remember in the dream, I had to go identify the charred remains of my family. This all happened in a matter of seconds in your mind in the dream. And I remember being in the morgue and dropping to my knees and completely breaking down. And then, of course, I woke up. and Spider-Man's on the TV or something. And I'm like, what the ever living fuck was that? And it gripped me so harshly, even though it was a dream and I was so fresh out of it, I started crying. I called Rainey up, and it was like 11 o'clock at night there or something. And she was so sweet to me. She said, you just talk as much as you want to. I said, I just needed to call to know you were actually still there. And not the crap that just happened in my dream. And so that's not even a real experience of losing someone. And yet it was wrenching. And it took me till sometime the next day for that to really kind of pass away out of my mind. So loss like that, that's real, helps us learn about resilience, kindness, the imperfection of this teaches us kindness and resilience, compassion. But there's some less that for the rest of forever, we would trade everything and anything for things to go back to the way they were. So this point is we've all experienced a loss that has changed our normal. Things just aren't normal anymore. And so, hey, Jerry Armitage over in the chat room. Good to see you too, brother. And things will never be the same. I remember, if you were a aficionado, or at least a fan, let's say, trite word, but a fan of the Lord of the Rings books, the Tolkien books, or better yet, the movies, which has reached more people than the books because it's a movie. And there's a scene in the third movie, The Return of the King, where Frodo and the other Samwise and the other hobbits, they return back home to the Shire. And there's a scene where Frodo you hear his voiceover, he's talking over the scene. And there's this moving music is playing. And the camera's behind him, and he's walking through Bag End, through the house. And he starts asking the question. He says, how do you return to a former life? How do you, I don't remember the quote, how do you return after the pain has gone too deep? Some wounds will never heal, he's talking about. And so it's a very moving scene. Hey, Brianna Learman over there. I heard that. Rowan called into the show to talk about the bad storm. So Brianna says, we just got pounded with a nasty storm. While we're not across the street from them anymore, we're within just a few minutes away. Well, hopefully everything's good at home. So sometimes the imperfections of life leave us understanding that there is no normal to return back to. Number 5 is we'll be disappointed by the people we love. Every relationship has a make it or break it point. I think most of us have been there too. Those are the points. Yeah, please text Rainey, Brianna, see how they're doing over there. I'm going to call her as soon as we're done with the show. But that make it or break it point. Something that's going to tip us towards being angry, sad, and forgiving, or being angry, sad, and over. Done. The difference between a good relationship or friendship and a bad one is how we feel on balance. and whether it feels good more than it feels bad. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to screw up. People are going to disappoint us. Well, one of the greatest ways to sabotage people is to refuse to let go of their mistakes or of your own mistakes. At some point, for the sake of the relationship, we need to decide whether to let go of the relationship or let go of the hurt that has come from the mistake. And the two cannot coexist. Think about that if you're in a relationship. What is the point of no return? What is the point of non-forgiveness? At what point do you reach that? What is the point where you say, I'm forgiving, I need to move on? And it's not just about forgiveness. It's about whether or not you decide to get over the mistakes that are made. Number 6 is, and we will disappoint them. We judge, we criticize, we shame, we hurt the people we love the most. And we get it wrong. Sometimes the wrongness of what we do is volcanic. And it's so important to invest in our relationships when we can. Ultimately, inevitably, there's going to be times we need to draw on the bank of goodwill, of good feelings, of good heart, and good history. As I say to Rainey, I'm making a deposit in the love bank. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. This is the love bank deposit. Excuse me, I got weird throat today. So ultimately, inevitably, there's going to be times we have to draw on that bank. And we all have it in us to be absolute jerks. The breakage that comes with that often comes down to a question of intensity and regularity and our own willingness to respond to the damage that is spilled from our not so adorable moments. Our not so adorable moments. Look at this. We've got about 4 minutes of this show left, 3.5. And I still haven't made it through the first list, and I got another list of 11 things. So we'll compare ourselves to others for better or worse. And the tendency to compare ourselves to other people is in all of us. But some of us will do it more. Comparison doesn't need to be unhealthy, but it can be. It can clue us in on how we're doing and how we would better be better. What we need more of or less of. Sometimes it can be easier to see truths when we see them being worn by somebody else. We can't do everything. There's always going to be someone with more of something we want. This can motivate us. It can inspire us or suffocate us. Whether comparison grows us or grinds us, it's ultimately our decision to make and to act on. Number 8 is we all have our own secrets. This is part of being an imperfect person. We all have our secrets. Secrets don't always mean deception. Sometimes secrets are like a playground where we indulge our fantasies. We keep the frailties of us safe and hidden until they're ready enough to stand out there on their own. Whether it's your dream of that you're working toward, the friend you're madly in love with secretly. You know who you are. The things that wake you at 2 a.m., the stuttering ache you have to leave your relationship or your job, your guilt, your shames, your regrets. Whatever it is, we all have them. And secrets don't have to cause breakage, but they can chew away at intimacy or the capacity to move on, depending on what the secret is and the force with which it pushes to come out of us. The beautiful imperfection of being human. Brianna. Number 9 is we all have. What time is it? Yeah, I got a minute and a half left. So we all have our regrets. The adventure we said no to, the person we didn't kiss, the job we didn't go for, the move we didn't make, the person we chose is forever. The career we locked ourselves to, the city that's clawing at our spirit. Regret happens because time changes reality. It gives us knowledge we didn't have and the opportunity to experience the path we decided. The problem is that we can generally only experience one path at a time. And time has a way of polishing the alternative path until it sparkles. The other path always looks better, doesn't it? And we've all been that person to someone else's number 10. That person someone can't stop thinking about. We won't always know about it, though. So being human is a messy business. The imperfection of being human is messy. So I encourage you to understand that being imperfect can be a beautiful thing. And on that note, we got to go. You know why? It's time. Sit back, sit tight. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, we're back. Captain's Cabin. We are off air over at Odyssey Radio. I cut that one right to the wire. As soon as the music started playing, it was 26 seconds after. So we are out of there like a used condom. And yesterday's birdcage liner. Hey, Michelle Cannon-Free. And let me get this link shut down. Boom. And stop the recording for the archive. There. Now it's just us. We're here. So turn up my sound a little bit. Hey, Roger Rabbit. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. Barry, where you been? The day you make it to the show on time is the day I will accept your, hey, are you up and ready for Sunday morning calls? So Leslie Hooker says, I guess I'm blessed. I have no regrets with the decisions I made in my life. Pick the right people to go with me on the journey. Well, there you go. You're lucky because 99.9% of people sometimes regret the decisions they made. Now, I'm probably one of those in the upper. I have a couple of regrets. I have a couple of things I wish I had done a different way. A couple of people I wish I had never hurt. Not that I go around hurting people, but I've done it, sometimes deliberately. No, take that back. Never deliberately. Sometimes because of my deliberate actions, I have hurt people, but never to deliberately hurt a person. I don't go out of my way to hurt people. I have regrets for the people I have hurt. I've done my best to make apologies to people. I have some people who will probably never talk to me again because of mistakes I've made. Not deliberate mistakes, but mistakes that they can't live with, that are too great for them. And I understand that's the imperfection of being. It's healthier to get out of bed before noon on Sundays, says IOX. Damn straight. Then again, is it noon your time when this show starts? No, it can't be. So I'm usually up on Sundays around same time as every other day, 6 to 7 o'clock, sometimes 5. Sometimes I wake up at 4, sometimes at 3. It's dumb. Jerry Armitage says, I have regrets, but would never change anything. It makes you who you are. That's very true. Again, another Star Trek reference, I have to say it. Remember the Star Trek movie with the God character? Excuse me, what does God need with a starship? And that particular episode everybody's kind of getting this mind washing of their griefs and their regrets and the things. And Kirk said, no, I don't want that. He says, I don't want to erase the fact that there were times where I turned left when I should have turned right. However, he said that. So, hey, Barbie D, yeah, it's time for Captain's Cabin. You'll have to catch the replay. And so, yes, Elderberry, it's his job. He's the captain's waker. Thank God he doesn't roll over and tap me on the shoulder. That's Rainey's job. But he does message me to find out if I'm having my coffee yet. And, you know, Elderberry, I'm joking about it, but I appreciate that. I appreciate being appreciated enough to have somebody ask me if I'm up yet. Because God knows I've come in late a few times, especially on Sunday. Some people ask me, how can you do a show every day? Don't you have a life? Don't you have things going on? I do. There are days, you know, when I stopped the show and went on hiatus back in October, that was. And when did we come back? January? Maybe February. We've been doing the show again live now for 2.5 months, maybe 3. I can't remember the date we started again. But during that time, there were times where it was so nice when I'd look at the clock and go, it's 3 minutes to 9, and I don't have to do anything. But that's self-imposed things that we do. And Field Guy did 4 to 5 times a week every week and got burned out. This is why I don't do a 2-hour show every day. But I'll tell you what, Field Guy, if that was your job, if all you had to do was come on the air 5 days a week and talk for 3 hours, you didn't have to go work somewhere else to make sure you could pay the bills. If that paid your bills, that would be very different. So, same here. If this show was something that paid my bills, I mean, I could see myself doing 2 and 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Look at what a guy like Rush Limbaugh did for 30 years. He did a 3-hour-a-day show 5 days a week, but it was his living. And once you get to that point where you have 13 million listeners per week, you get your bills paid. I don't really have 13 million listeners yet. Working on it, though. So, this is the first notification you've gotten in months, Jerry? Really? Now, that's kind of odd. I wish my passion paid the bills, says Lelania. Well, mine does in a certain extent, to a certain degree. I'm an artist for a living. A commercial artist, you know. I don't just get to sit and paint roses in the fields and hope that somebody's going to buy my canvases. My art is usually geared around commercial things, from digital art, doing logo designs and things like that, to book illustrations and illustration work and stuff like that. And I've been doing that for 40 years. So you think I'd be rich from it by now? I'm not. It's a living, and I enjoy it. So, yeah, I was taking a break, Jerry Armitage. Some things were straining and stressing at the seams, and I said, okay, something's got to go. And it's got to be the free thing that takes the most of my time every week, and that's my radio show. And so we put it on hiatus for a while. I don't have a water jet. You talking to me, Joe? I have no water jet. I've got one of those dental water jets. Clean my teeth with it. It's better than flossing, guys. Matthew Sainsbury, I hope you can get the Sword and the Clay at a reasonable price too. The problem with it is the shipping. It's not the price of the book. It costs more than the book costs on cover price just to get it to Barbados. So, hey, Watson, how you doing? Hi, puppy. What you up to? Just one of the 3 dogs around, one of the 5 animals in this house. Oh, there goes the thunder. I think the dogs might be a little, he looks stressed down there. Hi, what you doing? So that thunder got you worked up, huh? Aw, buddy. Yeah, I get it. I understand. So, shipping with fuel costs has skyrocketed. That's very true. It has. So, yeah, that's that. Now, I was talking, I said I'd bring it up again about doing tarot readings on the air. I enjoy it, and I enjoy doing it for people. I'll give you an example. About the time Rainey and I met, and I've mentioned this before, I had that gathering at my house, scotch and cookies, every Thursday evening. I'd have 20, 25 people would show up at my house every Thursday night. And I do readings for people. And sometimes I would get the same people over and over again coming over just for a reading. And I did those for free. I didn't charge anybody. And I didn't do them all night long because I wanted to have fun with people too. But I offered, hey, I'll do your reading, sure. And but those same people would keep coming back over and over again. But would never pay for one because I gave them out free on Thursdays. And so I started saying to those people, I'm only going to do a couple tonight, but I want to do some for people who haven't had one before because I've given you 10 readings and this person has. And I didn't say, because I didn't want to look greedy. I didn't want to say, and you've never bought one. It's what I do. It's part of the money-making apparatus in my home. Better, say it better, the revenue-producing apparatus in my home. It's part of what pays the bills. And so Scotch and Cookies was good, Lalanya, every Thursday night. And we had a good time with it. And it started with one of the belly dancers from the festival, Minnesota Renaissance Festival, who came to my house. She was a friend of hers and friend of the guy that she was the object of her desire, that it was not getting fulfilled. And part of that reason was he was a married man and had an affair with her, and you get how all that goes, theater, etc., etc. And so she would come to kind of cry my shoulder a bit, and we got to talking, and she said, "Do you mind if I invite one of my other friends over?" Sure. For next Thursday. That was her day off of work. And so the next Thursday came, and then the next Thursday somebody else joined him. And pretty soon I had several belly dancers and me every Thursday night. And so, because I had kids at home, my 3 kids, I would bake cookies all the time. So I'd bake cookies. So we had cookies and we drank scotch. So it became dubbed as Scotch and Cookies at Scotty's. Many of you have heard this story before. Uncle Dave used to come to Scotch and Cookies. It was the best of times. You are absolutely right. It's nice to have Uncle Dave here because he experienced Scotch and Cookies all the time. And that ran for several years, 3, 4, 5 years, unabated, until Rainey and I ended up moving out to the country. And then people weren't going to drive an hour to get to our house for Scotch and Cookies. This was when I was in the city. And so that time was good times, to be sure. But I would do tarot readings. That's where that really kind of started. And then Rainey tries to manage me a little bit. So you got to stop doing all the free stuff for people. And we talked about that once. And she was on air with me once. We talked about that. So you all get it. Maybe I'm talking about it too much. I just don't want anybody to think I'm just being greedy. I'm not. Somebody asked me about, Morgan Snow asked, how is the Raw book? Is the Raw book finished? It is not. When I said once again that I was going to finish that book, and remember, nobody's paying me to do that. So taking the time to write that is excruciatingly difficult. I have to do it when I have been paid for a project and I have a few open days, or you get a big tax return or something, you get a big windfall, something comes in that allows me time to be able to actually write on something that isn't going to earn me money right away. The closest money I'll get on that is if it gets picked up and I get an advance on it. But that's not going to happen, especially in a fictional work. That's not going to happen until it's written. So there's that catch-22. So I have not finished writing that book yet. Do you know 10 Breaths of Raw really came out of Fox and Bear? There's a mosquito. That's too early for a mosquito. There's a mosquito in the house. That's not good. And so, yeah, it's not done yet. Hopefully it'll be done in the near future. But, Fox and Bear was the original story. And John Ward and I were writing that. And then it just tanked because John was not able to continue writing on it because their archaeological site in Egypt got really busy. We kept them hopping. And so 10 Breaths of Raw, Dad seemed interested in it. Yeah, it's a good book. I think it's going to be a good book. But that's me. I'm writing it. So, night, whoever's going. Oh, good night, Leslie. Thanks for being here. So, 10 Breaths of Raw is just a reworking of Fox and Bear, and which was anthropomorphized. It was all animals playing human characters. That was the book that raised the eyebrows of the people at DreamWorks that were interested. They told my agent, yeah, we'd be interested in looking at this, possibly for a full-length feature animated film. How much of the book is written? Do you have a treatment done? And that question was asked before we had gotten any further than just a synopsis. And I remember when I got that call from my agent, I was out painting in, remember when I was showing you all the murals the other night that Dave and I do? I had been out in Washington State painting that mural of Archangel Michael in that niche in somebody's house. And that was in January of 2017. And I remember that well because February of 2017 is when I had the heart attack and the heart surgery. And so that was 5 years ago, January. And we got word from DreamWorks that said, we need a treatment on this. We're very interested in talking to you about this. DreamWorks. So that didn't happen. That opportunity slipped through our fingers. But my agent said to me the other day, why don't you just finish writing that book? Because I've had the 10 Breaths of Raw sitting for 3 years now, waiting for me to finish it. For time to finish it. She said, why don't you just take it? Just write 10 Breaths of Raw. So we'll see. Maybe I can. I wouldn't be breaking any contracts with John. We wrote up a contract. But all it says is that he retains his percentage in it as we write it. It didn't address if one of us finishes it on our own. So if one of us does, the other still benefits. I'm okay with that. If Fox and Bear got sold to DreamWorks, and it afforded us a decent payoff. You know what we do? John would get half and I would, no matter if he was part of finishing it or not. So there it is. If you build it, he will come, says Field Guy. Maybe. Yeah, Michelle, anthropose means anthropomorphous. It's an anthropomorphized book. It's a great word. So it's animals as humans. Things like that. So, oh, that was nice. Dan Madsen just wrote me, said, saw you on the History Channel tonight. Des said for me to tell you that you look great. Enjoyed it. So that was nice. I'll have to write him back when I'm off the show. So, anyway, that's the story of the 10 Breaths of Ra. All I did was I took the same story we were writing for Fox and Bear, revamped it to be human beings instead of the animal characters. And frankly, if you didn't know they were animals, you'd read like a human story anyway. Anthropomorphized. So did you see Watson pass through here again? Oh no, that's the cat over there. Or is it? No, that's Watson back there. There he is. Oh, you can't really see him. Watson. Come here, buddy. Come on. He's all nervous about the storm because he never comes down here at night. Watson, come here, buddy. Come on. Well, come here. He loves me having me pet him, but he apparently doesn't want to come over right now. Are you tired? Are you nervous? Come on. Come on over. Yeah. Hi, Watson. What you doing? He's nervous. The dogs are nervous by the storm. So, yeah, that storm gets you worked up, huh? A little anxious. Huh? I understand that. I understand that. Yeah. Yeah. You gonna go to bed? You gonna go to bed with your mom and dad? Huh? Why don't you go to bed? Go see mom and dad. Anyway, that's Watson. Dave's got to go back out in the stuff and drive. That's gross. You got to drive all the way to Rochester tonight from St. Paul. Nasty. All the animals are up tonight. I think it's got to be the storms, but it's not. It doesn't seem like it's storming here. It's so quiet. So Iowa X says, have I seen the new Moon Knight show with all the Egyptian stuff? Moon Knight. I'm not even sure if I know what that is. Iowa X, do you have a link for that? I mean, I could look it up later, but yeah, Matthew Sainsbury, Spirit, the movie of the horse. That came out when my now 30-year-old daughters were still at home, and they loved that movie. So that movie's gotten old now. That's an older DreamWorks movie. The Prince of Egypt was a great DreamWorks film. The Story of Moses, which was just a reworking of the Ten Commandments. But that was a good movie for an animated film. What else has DreamWorks done that you guys have enjoyed? Disney Channel Marvel show. I'll have to take a look at that and see what's up with that. What did I just hear today? I just saw an article today. So I had some entertainment news flash by me. Oh, how many of you are fans or were fans of Firefly? I aim to misbehave. Shiny. How many of you know those words when I say them? And how many of you watched that series by Will Wheaton? The TV show, yep. And then the movie was Serenity. Came out in a big motion picture afterwards. Huge fan following. Love that show, Morgan Snow. Well, I just saw an article today that said that Disney is working on the reboot of that series. And Disney won't confirm it, but there have been, under the promise of anonymity to some of these entertainment sources, somebody in the inside verified that this is a 100% true live project and that they're trying to they want all the actors to come back. And now, because the preacher died in the movie, and of course this was after the series was off the air, he died in the movie, they said there's a high probability that he will be back because the movie is owned by a different corporate entity than the series was. So if they relaunch the series, they may ignore some of the events of the movie. That bug didn't. I missed him. Oh, I got him. Now he's dead. Die, mosquito. Die, mosquito. So that would be very interesting. Ash, like a leaf on the wind. And he has a big thing go through his chest and dies in the movie. They said Ash might be back because they're going to reboot the franchise. Even though the movie exists, owned by a different entity. I have heard the new Doctor Strange is pretty cool. So, yeah, mosquitoes are dangerous. Not so dangerous up here. They don't carry malaria up here like they do in the Caribbean. Guess they're going to bring back Ash. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Ash was a great character. Did you see him in the series this last year, Resident Alien? Rainey was watching that. And I said, what is this? This is kind of funny. It's a dark comedy about an alien who takes the form of the body of a guy, or the form of a guy who was dead, and played by the same actor. So, IOX was watching Firefly the other day on Hulu. Yeah, great series. Great series. I aim to misbehave. And lots of other lines that are slipping my mind from that movie, or that series even. What a great series when you think about it. Western in space. So, Ash was in Doctor Strange. Was he? The new Doctor Strange? Has anybody here seen Strange New Worlds yet? Captain Pike and Spock? Saw it. It was very good. Dave and I talked about it a little bit last Friday night. Yeah, Ryan, there's been rumors of reboots for years. Apparently, this particular entity said they have had 100% confirmation from somebody on the inside, but they can't reveal who it is. So I said, you'll just have to wait to see that it's the truth, that they were revealing this information. Somebody's ass would be in a sling if they knew who that person was. Lalanya, yeah, she watched it the other day and liked it. Which Lalanya, the new Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, or talking about Firefly? IOX was overseas when it was on. I didn't see Firefly in its original run. It only ran one season. I didn't see it. I was busy doing other things. When did that come out? Like 12 years ago? 15 years ago? Might be. Strange New Worlds is excellent. I think it's really well done. I'm really looking forward to the series. Yeah, it's coming back without Joss Whedon, Dave. Uncle Dave. They've got writers from other series, though, that they think will make it pretty strong. And I can't think of what the series are, but writers and directors from other series that were pretty good. Picard was very good. As everybody here seen Picard seasons 1 and 2? I just the other night, it's Sunday night or Saturday night, I watched the season finale of Picard season 2. Really, some surprises in that ending that were very good. I liked it. What else was I saying? There's some big surprises in that I just watched. Oh, a different series altogether. Something Rainey and I watched. So, but Field Guy has seen all of season 1 of. I'm not digging season 2 of Picard. I frankly, Ryan, I almost liked it better than season 1 of Picard. But there are elements of season 2 that I could have lived without. I do get tired of the time travel motif. Melania didn't watch Firefly because it was after it aired and everyone was upset that it ended. So I didn't want to get drawn into it. I'm still mad about how Lost ended. Lost was one of those shows that I didn't watch at first. Rainey watched it and I got into it and I got mad. I got so mad at that show. Every time that show ended an episode, I was like, what the fuck was that? No, they can't do that. You're going to make me wait a week? That's what Lost was for me. And it's hard. It's got to be really hard for a writer to completely satisfy the fan base of a very popular series that is coming to an end. How do you write off their favorite series? How do you write off something that so many people were emotionally on an entertainment level invested into? So that's got to be a tough job. I know, let's have them all die. Or I know, let's make it all a dream. Or I know, let's have them all go back home. Or I know, let's make this the eternity they're stuck in forever. What's that? Lost. What do you do with that? How do you write that show to satisfy those people? Did you watch Bloodline? It was great, but it was a terrible ending. I didn't see Bloodline. Briscoe County Jr. There is a show. Of course, Bruce Campbell, I don't know if he could play the part anymore. He's getting a little old for that. But Briscoe County Jr. was good. It was witty. It was Bruce Campbell witty. Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell, if you don't know who I'm talking about off the top of my head. The only thing the Chinese communists have got right is to outlaw time travel. Well, I'm glad they've outlawed time travel. So, and you got to wonder, is time travel? I had this conversation with somebody. I don't think it was on the show here. Might have been with Andy. Time travel. They're saying now that there was all these things, physics things, that would say time travel was impossible because you'd have to exceed the speed of light. Well, is that the only way to time travel? Is traveling fast? Is time travel, could it be a doorway between dimensions? A doorway between time streams? String theory? I don't know. It's interesting. So, Sam Raimi directed the new Doctor Strange. That would be good. Cowboys with Aliens was pretty good. Cowboys and Aliens with Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford. Do you remember that one? And my all-time favorite bad guy, Clancy Brown, who played the Kurgan in the original Highlander movie back in the 80s. Holy ground, Highlander. So, if you can think it, make it so. Engage. Engage. Says Joe Morrow. Yeah, a simple trip around the sun will work, or a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. That's it. You know, the flux capacitor. There's the fly in the ointment. Gadzooks! Death penalty for dream flashbacks. What show are we talking about? You're making lots of references here, Iowa X. You're talking about a show. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up. Give me the all I've got, Captain, if you can't take much more. I'm giving him all I've got. She can't take much more of this, Captain. Yeah. I wonder if the gravitational time shift concept from the movie Interstellar is actually true, says Roger Rabbit. I think that is based on theoretical physics. From what I've heard about that when that came out. That was kind of crappy. When you're on that planet and you're trying to get off that water planet and things aren't working right, your ship is having problems, and you know that every 10 minutes equaled 10 years? Or every minute equaled 10 years? Something like that. Back home, by the time they finally get out of there, his little girl is an old woman when he gets home, and he hasn't aged any. Sorry, I went through a wormhole. Exactly. All of them, it is cheap writing. 88 miles per hour will do it. Life will flash before your eyes. There it is. It was fun entertainment, though, wasn't it? Fun entertainment. Andromeda was a good series. I didn't see that one. That was with Kevin Sorbo, right? Hercules, the old Hercules dude. This is as bad as visiting Nebraska, says Iowa X. Says a guy from Iowa. So, Matthew Sainsbury says, it's possible tomorrow I'm going to visit the famous Chase Vault tomb that is haunted, possibly. Tomorrow. It's empty now, open to visitors. The caskets were tossed around so much they abandoned it. Interesting. Hey, David Castle. Scotty, will you send some UFO pics? They have been here over 50% of them. Time since May 18th. What UFO pics are you talking about? Will I send them? I don't know if I have any UFO pics. You say they've been here over 50% of the time. The pictures? You have pictures that you've had? Since May 18th? Oh, send me some of your pics. Please do, David. I'd like to see them. Had Muppets Andromeda. Pigs in Space, if you remember the old Muppet Show. I have UFO pics. Cool. UAP or UAP. Thank you, Field Guy. So why'd the military, the government, rename them? So it wasn't so stigmatic when they came out and said they're real. Anyone else watch Outer Range, Lalanya? Yes, I have. I just watched the last 2 episodes of that aired just before I came out here and out to where I am now. And Outer Range is like, yeah, Yellowstone meets Lost with some time travel mixed in. That is a crazy series. And Rainey and I were watching that. And so the last episode I saw was the one that ended where she kicks over the table in the kitchen, sitting there, and in slow-mo pushes the table over. Roswell, they wanted to claim it was a military weather balloon. That's right, Matthew Sainsbury. That's been the story for what, 70 years now? That story? So, yeah. Here, let's see. Let's see if we got Dave. Let's see if we can get Dave in here. Invite, copy to clipboard, and paste. Bada boom. There you go, Dave. Uncle Dave. There's the link. You can try to call in. It's there. Having trouble connecting. Please. Oh, now we've never gotten this here before. Now that says Odyssey Radio. Might be because there's storms up here. Can everybody still see me? Are we still connected? There's Dave Potter. Add him to the stream. How you doing, Dave?
Trying to see if this works without the camera. It's less connection.
All right. You're on.
Awesome. I don't have anything to say. No, I'm just
That's all I got. That's all I got.
just wondered if we could make it work.
Yes.
I don't think I'm going to be here Friday night because I'm cooking a banquet on Friday,
Right.
and we aren't going to be done by the time Captain Scabbard goes on the air.
You know what? If you don't make it because of work and celebratory events, I understand.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmarish day. I start out at 5 in the morning doing all the shopping and go to the kitchen and cook, and then I'm emceeing and hosting dinner. So, because I'm master of the lodge, so I turn everything in the kitchen over to somebody else and just hope that everything comes out right. So,
Nice. It
Correct.
will. It will. It always does. It always does.
7 courses and a lot of toasts. I'm probably not going to be in good shape to drive either, but
This dog is so nerve-wracked. I never see him down here at night, and he's just
the
been down
lightning
here.
and the thunder back here, Scotty, was amazing.
That's what I've heard. So, hi, Winston.
I don't blame Rowan for being on
She was
edge,
upset. She always gets upset at those. Watson.
but
There he is.
this was quite the lightning and thunderstorm.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So,
Tornado watches, tornado warnings, all kinds of, and so I left Rochester at about 4:30 and drove up here to work, and got here just as the watches were all going on and stuff. So
yeah. There. Watson's back on my bed now. There he is. He's a big rat terrier. So he's clawing at my blankets so he can find a comfortable place to sleep. You know how dogs do. Claw,
Yeah.
claw, 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 twirl in a circle. Now I can lay down. Or poop. Don't pull an Amber Heard on me over there. There he is. No, he just plopped down, so he's good.
I heard that Robert Downey Jr. just contacted Johnny to be in a film with him.
That's fantastic. They're two of kind of my favorite current actors. I like them.
You know, I felt so bad when Robert Downey Jr. went down that path in his
Yep,
20s.
I remember that.
And the fact that he was able to turn himself around and come back from that in such a major,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, that was amazing. Did you see, and I know you did, we may have talked about this before, but that one time where Robert Downey Jr. was introducing Mel Gibson on stage at Golden Globes or something. And this was very shortly after Mel Gibson went through all the crap.
Yeah.
Everybody was on him because his dad was a Nazi, so they were calling him a Nazi. And videos or tape recordings came out of him screaming at a producer on the phone and all this bad, he drunk driving, stuff like that. And who the hell knows what kind of bad time he was going through back then. But, and he got almost blacklisted. And this is back before political.
It was before the canceling. And in many ways, he was the first. He was one of the first people that really kind of got canceled for a while.
Yeah. And he came back just fine.
Yeah.
But I loved Robert. Go look that up, everybody. If you want to see a good person do a good thing, Robert Downey Jr. introducing Mel Gibson in his little speech. And he said something to the effect of, he was acknowledging that, everybody's got an opinion these days. And sometimes you do wrong things and sometimes you do shitty things. He says, I should know. He said, I was there. And he says, I was forgiven. And he says, do you know who, and I didn't know this. He says, the man who advised me through that time to stick it out, to do the right thing, to act right, was the man I'm introducing right now, Mel Gibson. And it was pretty powerful stuff. So
yeah. Well, and RDJ went through a whole, drugs, booze, the whole thing. Really went down the path. I think he did some time for it.
He did. He was in prison for a while.
And he came back from that, and he's also thrown a bone to Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Help Mickey Rourke kind of work his way back, and it's the
and
machine.
What the hell ever happened to Mickey Rourke? You look at him in like 9.5 weeks with Kim Basinger.
Oh yeah,
he was this thin, slender.
But the
really
Hollywood machine makes you into this celebrity thing. It chews you up and spits you out. And about the only way that a lot of people can deal with that is to turn to booze and drugs.
Yep.
And because celebrity, for all the things that people think they want, when I'm teaching students and they're all like, oh, I want to be a celebrity. And I'm like, you know what? No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing you want, because it's so hard on people. You just have no concept of what it's like to have cameras following you all the time. And I look at Britney Spears. Britney Spears is an excellent example of this. She was a pretty well-rounded kid, went into the Disney machine. The Disney machine makes these little stars, and it doesn't give them a way to cope with everything. Yeah. They suck the cash out of these kids. They make millions, and then they dump these kids back out into Hollywood to make it as an adult. They're not set up to make it as an adult. And here you have a teenager who's just doing teenage things while trying to run a music career, and you have cameras following you 24/7. Right. Everyone wants to get the first picture of Britney's breast when she turns 18. Everyone wants, whatever. And they're click, 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 click. So it's no wonder that she goes off the deep end and shaves her head and says, yeah, take a picture of me now.
Yeah, there you go.
Because she just wants to get it. Miley Cyrus did the same thing.
Yep. Miley Cyrus did.
It's so hard to move from that child celebrity to an adult actress or actor. Shirley Temple, going way back, had a lot of the same problems. They didn't want to let go of the 4-year-old little girl, and she's like, I'm 18. I'm not that 4-year-old anymore.
You remember when she did The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer with
yes. And people were terribly upset because she. Oh, and what's the other one? There's another one she does where she's a young unwed mother during the war. The something girl. I can't think of what the name is. But so she plays a girl in this small town whose boyfriend has gone off to war, but they were never married, and she's pregnant. And I think he dies. And so she has to deal with this thing and how life was in the 40s. We're going to shun this person because she got pregnant. It's like
something that I remember seeing, of all things, Judy Garland in the Judgment at Nuremberg with Spencer Tracy as the judge at the Nuremberg trials. That movie came out in the early 60s, maybe late 50s, early 60s. I can't remember when, but very serious, as serious for its day as Schindler's List was in its day.
Yeah.
And she played a woman. She did the accent. She was like I don't know if she was Polish in that, but she was, I'm going to say, a Polish concentration camp survivor, or a local who lived through it and had been sterilized and stuff like that. And she played this absolutely shattered, psychologically destroyed woman in that movie. And it wasn't over the top. The Judgment at Nuremberg, that was the acting, and that was not over the top. The acting was not cheesy or campy. It was very gritty, and she played that part so gritty that you go, wow, this is the same girl who sang Over the Rainbow in The Wizard of Oz. And you could tell, knowing what we know now about her life after, or her life as she started aging, that part for her was her coming out in that role. Not coming out in the gay sense, coming out what was really her spilling out onto the screen. So anyway, yeah, that need for fame, Lalanya, I get it.
Yeah, it's a messed up thing. I decided a long time ago I want to stay behind the camera. I'm comfortable making the money, and I love the industry, but I just soon have that anonymity, that ability to walk through a hotel lobby or an airport, and not get mobbed, and not have people wanting to take your pictures, and not have people wanting to know everything about your life. And
yep. Well, my opportunity is passed for that. I always thought I'd love to be an actor. I'd love to be in movies when I was younger, a lot younger. Now I'm just too damn old.
Well, I went to the extent of I use another name when I do all my film work. I don't do it under Dave Potter.
And I know what that name is.
Yep, I know you do.
And I named my mannequin after you.
Yes, you did.
So, anyway. MK Ultra Programming says Michelle Canham free. There you go. Well, guys, it's 10:48.
10:48.
10:48.
Yeah.
I could play Moses. Yeah, I could play Moses. I couldn't play the young Moses.
Moses.
Who would play the young Moses that I could play an old Moses to? So, I thought I could play a 60-year-old William Shatner. So, I sometimes look in the mirror and go, wow, I look like the 87-year-old William Shatner. So, I've never been a fangirl, says Lalanya. I figure they're just people good at their jobs. Oh, that's it. Yeah, they're good at their jobs, and they get people like them because of that. I get that. I understand that to a certain extent.
So, don't count on me Friday.
Okay.
If I get done early, I'll call in. But
all right.
I just know that will be a crazy late day. I'll try and bop in on Sunday.
That sounds good.
I have a date on Sunday.
You have a date?
Yeah, that unexpectedly happened.
I'm sorry, what? You have a date?
I know. That unexpectedly happened today.
Wow.
She's like, hey, let's get together on Friday. And I'm like, hey, I can't. I'm super busy on Friday. And she's like, well, I'm good on Sunday. And I said, I could do Sunday. So.
Yeah. Nice. Anybody I know?
I don't think you've met her. I don't think you've met her. I've known her for a number of years,
Okay.
and we've kind of been an on again, off again sort of
Sure.
taking each other around. Life
Well,
just
cool.
hasn't been right for either of us.
I understand. Well, report back in and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
I've known Uncle Dave being a single guy for so long now that he says he's going on a date, and I'm like, what?
This goes back to when
You don't do that
Amy
anymore,
and I
do you?
split. My heart was so destroyed
I know.
that it was 6 months before I could even have a conversation with somebody. I really went into seclusion for that first 6 months,
Yep.
and thank God I had you to. But ladies and gentlemen, the night I left Amy, the night we decided it was over, I got in the car, and I was working at a movie theater at the time as a projectionist, and I drove up to the theater and watched a midnight showing of Love Actually, which had just opened.
Oh boy.
Which was probably not the film to sit through, but I was in the theater by myself, and I sat and watched that. And then I left there, and it's going on 2 a.m, and I called Scotty at 2 a.m. They were at the house on Portland then, and I said, I need a place to crash tonight. I just left Amy, and he was like, back door's unlocked. Use the couch.
There it is. Back door was always open.
Yeah. And yeah, and it was, you know, it's weird because every night I go to bed and think, okay, that's over and done with. And every morning I wake up thinking about her, and every morning I realize I love her more today than I did yesterday.
And
So.
sometimes that's just a pain you have to release, or it's going to eat you alive the rest of your life.
Yep.
So
We were soulmates. I met her back in 88, 87 at the Colorado Renaissance Festival.
mm-hmm.
I'd just come off a film set in West Virginia, and I'd been traveling the circuit and got that film gig, left the circuit, did the film, came off the circuit, met up with everybody I traveled with in Colorado, and Eric Johnston was my buddy back then, and we traveled together, his wife and I, and
Hey, Watson.
walked up the hill to the Drench-A-Wench, and Amy was just taking perch on the tank, and I'm like, who's that blonde? He's like, oh, that's Amy, and my heart was gone in that instant.
Nice.
And then we were on again, off again for 2 years while we were on the road. And then she broke down in Texas, and I was doing a show in South Dakota. And I hooked her up with some friends in Texas, but she'd have a place to stay. And she ended up marrying Tommy.
Yep.
And broke our engagement. And then I ran into Tommy at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival 6 years later, and he was going on about how lonely Amy was, and I'm like, well, that's your fucking job, man.
It's your job, dude.
And I'm standing there as Captain Morgan talking to him, and he was holding Kaylee, who was only 2 at the time, and my cabin boy was standing next to me, and from maybe 30 feet away, I hear a scream, and I turn my head, and Amy is doing a dead run straight towards me, and I'm pulling daggers and all the weapons off my belt because I know what she's about to do, and I'm throwing all these weapons at my cabin boy. She launches herself into the air, wraps her arms and legs around me, and I remember my cabin boy going, well, that doesn't happen every day.
Don't see that happening every day to the captain.
And we hooked back up, and they were going through a divorce, and I was doing a commute from Minneapolis to Hutchinson every day, right through Young America where they live. And so Amy's like, well, I'm going to need to make more money why don't you rent the basement apartment? So I moved into her basement and lived there for a year, just renting the basement out. The neighbors couldn't figure out what was going on because Tommy would still come by and we would all sit and have a beer in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they were getting a divorce. I was living in a house, but they didn't know I was living in the basement. And by the time Kaylee was 4, we were married.
There you go.
And you know, I fell in love with her all over again, and just never have stopped falling in love with her.
I get that.
But it
of course,
makes
she's
it
been
really
out
hard
of
to
your
get hard
life
to somebody
for,
else.
How long has she been out of your life now? 15 years?
We divorced in 2005.
Yeah, so 17 years. Same time Rainey and I got together. So, I hear you.
And that's when I got my life back. I disappeared from it. In the sacrifice I made to be with Amy was I gave up my life.
Sure.
I walked away from everyone and everything. I stopped doing reenactment stuff. I stopped doing the science fiction conventions. I stopped all of that. And all of that opened back up to me when I left Amy.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped fill a hole in my soul, but it didn't mend the heart.
Right.
And tried a couple of times to have relationships and just realized I didn't have the ability to give anything from my heart because it was still taken.
Yeah.
You know, I often joke about the fact that I get it back in the divorce. You know?
Well, maybe something will come of this new date. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
And of course,
there's the want to love there again.
Neither you or I
there's
are
3 women in my life right now that I would totally be willing to let myself fall in love with. She's one of them.
Sure. Well, neither you and I are young bucks anymore either. So it's like
no, we're not. So that's why I have to date younger. You know, if I still want to have kids,
there it is.
There it is. I got to do the Scotty thing.
You
Find
got
a woman 20 years younger than me.
So, Lalania's going to bed. Nice to see you, Lalania, tonight. Glad you were here, and everybody else that's still here. We got a bunch of people still in here hanging. So, everybody, this is I think everybody's aware. This is the captain's cabin, but we're drawing it to a close. We got 2 minutes, a minute and a half. It's going to be 11 o'clock. And I want to be in bed by 11:05. So we're going to wrap this up. Uncle Dave, thanks for calling. This is kind of a little bit of a half treat for probably missing tomorrow night, but we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I'll be
around on Sunday, I think. I'll try and set my alarm to get up early.
All right. I will be back home tomorrow night. So, wait, tomorrow's only Thursday. Friday's the next
Tomorrow's
day.
Thursday. I have lodge tomorrow.
Wednesday. All right. Well,
yeah. Tomorrow's Thursday. It's Friday. I won't be calling.
There you go. Well, you have a good night, brother, and I will talk to you
too
very soon. Bye-bye. All right, guys. That's about it. I'm look at my eyes. I'm tired. So I'm gonna go to bed. So good night. Sleep tight until we meet again. Yeah, there it is, Joe Morrow. And I saw a couple of things go by that I wanted to comment on, but I don't know where they are anymore. So we'll call it quits for tonight, and I will see you all tomorrow night. You have a good day, good sleep, good day tomorrow. And I'm going to get out of here for now. So, once again, live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.